A pleasant afternoon to all of you. I am Mark Joven G. Chofilo from BSEd English 2B and I am one of your discussant for today. My topic is all about the 5 classics and 4 books of the Chinese literature. Before I start my report, I just want to ask if someone from the class is familiar or have an idea about the topic. Maybe some of you are familiar and have an idea about this topic. But if you don't have, don't you worry because I will introduce and discuss this topic to you. After my discussion, you are expected to enumerate the 4 books and 5 classics. Identify the importance of 4 books and 5 classics in Confucianism. And last is to reflect with the teachings and ideas of these different books. First, let us define what is 5 books and 4 classics. So, 5 classics and 4 books are authoritative books of Confucianism in China written in 300 BC. That means that these books are trusted and reliable in the Confucian tradition. Collectively, created the foundation of Confucianism. The 5 classics and 4 books were the basis of the civil examination in Imperial China and can be considered the Confucian canon. When we say Confucian canon, this created the foundation of Confucianism and serves as the basis and source in educating Confucian scholars. These books are also known to be canonical or accepted works of the Confucian culture in the feudal society in the ancient China. These are a collection of books that are considered as sacred texts. This collection of books covers such a wide range of subjects like literature, history, philosophy, politics, economics, moral ethics, and many more. They are important textbooks for the Confucian scholars in disseminating the educational thoughts of the Confucian school and is a must for an ancient scholar who have to pass the imperial competitive examination in order to become a government official. So in short, they have a far-reaching influence on the way of existence, intellectual quality, moral ethics, and aesthetic values of Chinese nation. According to Zhu Xi, which is writer of Song Dynasty and a Confucian scholar, he prescribed that there is an order of how to deal with the 4 books and 5 classics. The 4 books must be read first before the 5 classics. I know that we are all familiar with Confucius, specifically with his famous quotations. But to give you more about him, he is a Chinese philosopher and politician of the Spring and Autumn period, a period from Zhou Dynasty, which approximately from 771 to 476 BCE. Confucius was traditionally considered as the paragon of the Chinese sagas. He is considered by many Chinese as their great king and model of excellence and perfection by many saga. Saga can be attributed as great philosophers or king. Confucianism is an ancient Chinese belief which focuses on the importance of personal ethics and morality. So Confucianism, whether being a philosophy or a religion, is still debated. The teaching is based from Confucius' principle, but be reminded that Confucius is not the one who formed Confucianism. It is formed by his scholar who created this after Confucius died and used his philosophies and beliefs as their principle. It has existed for over 2,500 years. It is concerned with inner virtue, morality, and respect for the community and its values. The 4 books. These are texts that define the core value and belief system of Confucianism. Zhu Xi, which I've mentioned earlier, selected these books to function as introduction for the Confucian thought, and this made the core of the official civil service examination in China. These 4 books are The Great Learning, The Analects, The Mencius, and The Doctrine of the Mean. The Great Learning. So, The Great Learning is originally one chapter in the Classic of Rites, which is part of the 5 classics that I am going to discuss later on. It is consist of short main texts that are attributed with the teachings of Confucius and 10 commentary chapters. These commentary chapters are accredited to one of Confucius' disciples, which is Zhengzi. The Great Learning suggests that the guide for self-cultivation is learning or investigation of things. When we say self-cultivation, it is the development of one's mind and capacities. This tells us the connection between our body and our mind. So when we have self-cultivation, this allows us to understand and comprehend the world better. With this cultivation, one's li or principle and ki or psychosocial state, which is about the physical and mental qualities of a person, are in harmony, leading to consistent moral behavior. So Great Learning also expresses many themes of Chinese philosophy and political thinking, and is influential to classical and modern Chinese thought. So the main message of this is that the scholars or people must value their studies. So the second book is the Analects. But before that, we have a simple quotation here which says that the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stone. So can anyone from the class share his or her insights about this quotation? My own insights about this quotation is that in every success that we have, we start from small steps. And those small steps helps us to achieve our goal or our desired result. So the Analects is known to be the most revered or the most honored and respected scripture in the Confucian tradition. The main purpose of it is to spread idea and keep record of the original text for later references and serve as foundation of the Chinese education. It is consist of collections of Confucius' teaching and discussion with his students and disciples. It includes 20 books. Each generally features series of chapters that holds quotations compiled by his disciple after his death. It tries to emphasize learning, education, wisdom, and love, as well as good governance, virtue, and the ritual. It is one of the most widely read and studied books in China for the last 200 years and continue to have great influence on Chinese and East Asian thought and values. The picture that you see on your screen is a text from the Book of Analects. Next is the Mencius. The Mencius is a collection of conversation between Mencius and Confucius. So Mencius is a Confucian philosopher described as the second sage and part of the fourth generation of Confucius' disciple. He inherited Confucius' belief and developed it further. The Book of Mencius places a strong emphasis on the responsibility of the emperor to practice good governance. So when I say good governance, that means how leaders should govern, organize, and lead their group or nation through following the way. The way that I mentioned is about the Confucian thoughts and belief. It is used as basis for governing their country. So it also mentions that humans are inherently good. This book tries to emphasize the idea that we are all born with righteousness and goodness, but must learn how to nurture and cultivate those traits. The fourth book is the Doctrine of the Mean. So just like the book of the Great Learning, it is another chapter in the Classic of Rites. So it tries to represent moderation, rectitude, objectivity, sincerity, and honesty, and that one should never act in excess. This book is attributed to Zisi, which is Confucius' grandson, and deals with how to maintain perfect balance and harmony in one's life. This tries to convey that too much is bad. So it focuses on following the way and acting through what is right and natural, but also acknowledges that people often do not act properly. Of course, we being people, we are bound or we are doing mistakes. That is why this book encourage people to engage in moral self-cultivation to act properly. It also gives emphasis to the fact that good governance rely on the man and trust, and that rulers who maintain balance are not only more effective but also encourages the way in others. So the man mentioned here is not just limited to man but also to woman. What he is trying to say is that the good governance rely to the people. So what heaven confers is called nature. That means, or the nature here is what God has given us. Accordance with this nature is the way, or cultivating the way is called the education. So education is based from how we act as people. Moving on, we have the 5 classics or Wu Jing. These are 5 pre-Qin Chinese books that form part in the Confucian canon. So pre-Qin or Qin is a dynasty in China, while Western Han Dynasty is the period where the texts are considered as set of collection and called as 5 classics and adopted Confucianism as its official ideology and become part of the state-sponsored curriculum. It is used as basis for study and was believed that these books are compiled or edited by Confucius himself. The first book of the 5 classics is the Book of Documents or Shu Jing. It is a compilation of 58 chapters which are about the events of the ancient China and collection of rhetorical prose of the ancient China. This also tells the deeds of the early sage King Yao and Shun. So together with King Yu, King Yao and Shun are considered as the great sage kings in China. That is because of their high standard or high character standard and skillful leadership. It contains rhetorical prose of the Chinese ancient literature, so its main purpose is governing the use of language for effective speaking and writing. This also serves as Chinese political philosophy foundation for over 2,000 years. It serves as guide for molding new sagas, for it is influential in developing and understanding of a sage or person of wisdom. It includes the history of the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasty, often considered as the first recording of the history of the ancient China. The next book is the Book of Odes or Shi Jing, or can also be regarded as Odes or Poetry. It is known as Book of Song and Book of Poetry, which consists of 305 poems dealing with the range of issues including love and marriage, agricultural concerns, daily lives, and war. In the 305 poems, 160 of it are folk songs, 105 are festal songs or songs that are performed during court ceremonies, and 40 hymns and eulogies sung at sacrifices to gods and ancestral spirits for the royal house, or simply the house of royal families like king or queens. It was believed that Confucius selected these 305 poems from a much larger collection, and it is considered as the oldest existing collection of Chinese poetry. Next is the Book of Rites or Li Ji. It describes the social norms, governmental, organizational, and the ritual conducted during the Zhou dynasty. So it provides an overview or a picture of how does the environment or the society of Zhou dynasty looks like before. So it is believed to be compiled by Confucius himself and became the foundation of many ritual principles that arises in later imperial China. So they are creating or performing rituals in belief that it can transform their desire to satisfy them in appropriate ways. So this book also states that proper ritual conduct would maintain harmony in the empire, as well as emphasize the importance of virtue of piety or pity, which is the quality of being religious. So they believe or they think that if they were to perform these rituals, they can preserve the religion and the belief that they have. The fourth book is the Book of Change or I Ching. It contains system of divination, which is centered largely around the principles of yin and yang. So yin and yang is a concept of dualism, which describes how seemingly opposite or contrary forces may actually be complementary, interconnected, and interdependent in the natural world, and how they may give rise to each other as they interrelate to one another. So the concept of yin and yang actually shows two sides. Yin being the black side, which is more feminine but is also showcasing negativity, while yang is the white side, which is more on masculine and is more on positive side. It is a collection of linear signs to be used as oracles. So linear signs are more of symbols which are used or which they used in creating judgment or to decide with wise and insightful counsel. And these practices are still used up to this day. They represented certain processes in nature corresponding with the character and family member that had different meaning. The last book is the Spring of Autumn Annals. So, longest of the 5 classics. So, when we say annals, it tells about records of events year by year, while spring and autumn are both seasons. So, this tells about the historical chronicle of State of Lu. So, State of Lu was a vassal state during the Zhou dynasty of ancient China, located around modern Shandong province. It is founded in the 11th century BC, where its rulers were from a cadet branch of the House of Ji that ruled the Zhou dynasty. So, this book appears to have been created specifically for analytic purposes. So when we say analytic purposes, its main purpose is to record events. At first, it was thought to be written by Confucius, but modern scholars believe the text was actually written by various chronicles from the state of Lu and not by Confucius. We also have the Classic of Music, which is supposed to be the 6th classics, but unfortunately it was lost during the burning of the book. The burning of the book and burning of scholars, are also known as burning the books and executing the rule scholars, refers to the supposed burning of texts in 213 BCE and live burial of 460 Confucian scholars in 212 BCE by the Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang and the Qin dynasty. Books that are not related with agriculture, medicine, and prognostication are burned. To sum up my report, these books and classics are all important in the Confucianism, for it tells and explains the belief, history, and the principle of Confucianism, especially when it comes to their values, to their morals, leadership, and education. Also, even though we are not Confucians, we can still take away knowledge and insights about these ideas that can be useful and helpful with our everyday life and on how we see the world. And that concludes my report. Once again, I am Mark Joven G. Chofilo from BSED English 2B, and I hope that you've learned a lot from my report. Have a good day!